Hello everybody and welcome back to another wonderful Illustrator Creative Challenge here at Adobe Live. I'm your host Kladi and today I'm gonna dive with you into some typography and font tips and techniques that we're going to be sharing together here doing this Illustrator challenge. Thank you so much everybody for joining. I can see our amazing Val in the chat. Hi Val, hi Wade, and of course hello to all of you that are joining us here on Adobe Live on Behance. I can see Steve. Ciao, Bruce, lovely to see you. For those of you who don't know me and they're new here at Adobe Live, I'm your host, Kladi. I'm an Italian designer based in Manchester, UK. I don't know if you can hear the rain, but it's raining so heavily right now here in Manchester. Let me know where are you watching from and what's the weather like. Alessandra is saying, I love these earrings. Thank you so much. They are from Costa Rica. There is actually a friend of mine that takes them directly from there and supports indigenous women. So also try my best to support myself and buy lots of these wonderful earrings. But it's time to jump into InDesign and typography. So let me go ahead and share my screen so I can show you a little bit of the work that we're going to be doing today. Here's an example of something that I created, and the cool part about today, I got a plaster by the way on my finger so I cannot really zoom in over here, but the thing that I wanted to show you, this is a typeface that I've created, is called Gestalt K. If you actually head on my Behance page, is one of the projects, probably should have had it opened up there, but if you head on Behance, you will be able to see it right away. In fact, maybe we can just jump here on this page. Let me see. Here it is. If we go ahead on the Daily Creative Challenge page and then perhaps we jump right away into my profile, you will be able to see this wonderful typeface that I've created ages ago. Then actually is available for you to download. And if it's not here, it's probably is on my PrintMySoul page, which is my studio page. Anyway, before we get started, I want to remind everybody that you can download this starter file so you can work with me here and we can go ahead and start working together, or you can also watch this stream later on because this is also going to be available on a replay. You can just hang out. We have 30 minutes together. I'm going to show you some techniques. We're going to talk about fonts. Let me know in the chat if you have a favorite font, and in fact we're going to perhaps, before we start, I'm going to show you the template and then the starter file, and then we're going to jump into fonts.adobe.com, because the first step of every design is of course research, and fonts.adobe.com is a great place to create your font. Now the beauty of our stream today is that not only I'm going to show you a few techniques on how to create a display font, because that's what this sort of bold font that are usually just used, as the word say, for displays, or intended for titles, for cards, for something that is maybe a signage. They're not intended to be used heavily perhaps in a body copy or like in a book, because otherwise it will become very heavy to read. They look at something that is, they need to be something that is bold and big. So again, like a signage or maybe a book cover or something like that. Val has placed a link for the starter file also in the chat. Otherwise, just jump at the bottom here, the description, and you will be able to get this link. So in the link, you will find the example of the font that I created. I'm dyslexic, so I was actually looking into some Gestalt psychology. So how do we perceive shapes? And we put them together. And here we have our Gestalt K. And I think I have a little case study I should have put together here with some images. So this is the font, the Gestalt K, that we were looking at, and this is a print that I've done as well, which just shows the little wireframe that we're going to create together. Here is outline and colors, and also I want to show you where this started. It actually started from a graffiti piece. I'm not a graffiti artist, but I like to use canvases, wall as canvases to, again, what a bigger example of a display, if not a wall. And I also transform it into an installation about perception, so you could actually work in this room and you have all these little shapes hanging, and then when you will walk in front of it, you could read the word perception, made exactly, that was me with short hair, hanging all the letters. And these letters have actually come from the alphabet and then have been, this is an Illustrator file that then has been sent to a laser cutter, so they were actually made with laser cut, and this is me painting. Perfect. So we're gonna start by creating something very similar to what I was doing here on a wall, but let's jump back into the actual font. As you can see here, we have a little bit of a grid that we can start with. I've added now some letters just to have a guideline of where to put which letter. We're definitely gonna maybe do a couple here during the challenge. We're not gonna be creating the entire font because I really want to show you an awesome plugin which is called Font Self, that allows you to transform in literally few seconds any shape that you make, anything that you want to use as a font. It could just be an illustration, it could be anything, but you can transform it into a font and you'll be able to use it to type it, like, and you can sell it, you can share it with the world, you can download it as an OpenType. We can share it together. Bruce is saying, "Ha, Kladi is not a graffiti artist." Maybe it used to be. Hello, Kladi. In Manchester, a tornadoes locally yesterday in Nevada. Oh wow! So the weather is a bit bad everywhere. Let me know everywhere else. Where are you watching from? I'm always very excited about our community. We're streaming both on YouTube, on the Adobe Creative Cloud, and on our beloved Behance. Also, if you create this font, make sure to share your project on Behance. I really look forward to see what you create. Another amazing feature of Font Self, besides allowing you to create a font that you can share as an OpenType and use as an OpenType, also they come with this wonderful grid, so it allows you to have a little bit more in depth of what I created. So you can go maybe and create some Latin character. I think they have Cyrillic as well at the bottom. You have some numbers, but you have a little bit more of a refined grid, so you can have a small cap and high cap. I'm taking a very safe approach. By all means, I am not a font designer. I just enjoy it for fun as part of my graphic design portfolio. It was something that I wanted to explore. I love and I believe in shapes and colors. As I said, that was my journey into my dyslexia and Gestalt psychology and psychology of perception. So I basically studied that when you put the perception rule of the Gestalt psychology said that when you have items that are grouped together, so proximity, they're proximate to each other, you perceive it as a single group. So that's what we're going to be doing with these letters. Oh, we have Jessel from Trinidad and Tobago. So exciting. And we have Ashrad from Pakistan, D. Cruz from Southern California. Steve, I know you're from New Zealand. No, don't tag it anywhere. But if you want to know, my name, whenever I paint, is Juicy. So let's go ahead and jump into fonts.adobe.com in order to start our little exploration of fonts. One thing that you might want to have a look at are the different classification of fonts. That will be the very first step where you start in understanding what your fonts are like. So first of all, here we have all the font recommendation, Foundries. That's a great way to explore different fonts. Fonts.adobe.com is amazing to start. But if you want to go ahead and search a specific font, and again, have a better understanding of different fonts, let's go ahead and select all fonts from the top menu. And right here behind me, and in fact, I might move on the other side. Let me, jump on the other side here. So as you can see on the other side of the screen, I'm actually going to zoom now so you'll be able to see better. We have some tags, so you already can start to see we have calligraphic fonts that look like they're made with a calligraphy pen. Then we have a clean, funky, they're a little bit towards what we are creating, a little bit more bold and fun. Art Deco with elements of Art Deco style. Brush pen, it looks like it's made with a brush. Futuristic, luxury, marker. Of course, they're all tags that represent the different characteristics of a font. But what is very important here for you to pay attention and start to understand, to just pinpoint what is the kind of style that you're looking for, are the classification. So sans serif have only stems, so those are the straight line and they don't have any horizontal line across the stem, and also they tend to be quite regular in the way they go throughout, so the stem is actually of the same width. Then we have the serif font, which display Bodoni, I think, was one of the most one of the first one that was classified as a serif font. It has all this horizontal line at the bottom of the stem, and also it has a variation between thin and thick, and you can see here from this little M. Slab serif again is a as close as possible to a sans serif font, but it features the little serif. So it looks like straight and without having the thin and thick change in between the stems, but we do have the horizontal line that come at the end of the stems. Script, of course, is looking to resemble something that is handwritten. Mono, they tend to have the same space, and that's kind of what we're going to be creating. We're going to be creating a mono space, as we tend to with geometric font, to start with something that is a little bit more of the same size. And I usually we're going to start with the H and with the O. Those are the basics for when you start with a font that is more like all caps or a display. If you're looking for a cursive, maybe N and H are the one that give you the height and the mid height, and then hand, something that is hand drawn. Of course, here you can I'm not going to go into it, but you can go ahead and select any one of these classification, and then also its weight, its width, the X height, which is the height of the letter H, and usually of the cursive as well, and then the contrast. As I was saying before, contrast, you can have no contrast, so the line is all the same, and then you can have a mid contrast or a high contrast, which again is probably what Bodoni is the one that is more related to. But let's go ahead and jump into Illustrator. You can go and use any shape as you want. That's why I was throwing you right away into fonts.adobe.com to show you that there are infinite fonts for you to get inspiration from. You can actually start and maybe get a font and then go from your type something and get in your properties panel. I'm actually go ahead and show you so I can write the word test. I'm going to do it all cap because I know that we're going to be creating something that is display, so most likely all cap. And of course I misspelled test. I'm glad that I told you that I'm dyslexic already. And then you can go and simply browse any of the fonts, because everything that is available on fonts.adobe.com is also available in-app. All you have to do is head to the properties panel, select your font, and from the character options here, you can also browse the font directly in-app. And this is one of the that I was telling you before, slab serif. It looks like a sans serif because it has no contrast, very straight stems, but then we have these horizontal stems. And then you can use any shape. You can access here the rectangle tool and go ahead and start literally by creating rectangles. Now, once you go ahead and start to create the first letter, again, in this case, I'm just creating the letter T. Look what happened. If you want to create something that is really funky and doesn't really pay attention of units, you might go ahead and select and start drawing as many shapes as you want. But otherwise, the reason why I place these shapes over here is because it's nice to have some unit reference. So for example, if you start to use this little rectangle as the little serif, I will probably save it, and then again, every time that I use it in a letter, I will just use it over and over again, and I'll make sure that I have the same space just like so. So you start always by a letter and by a single unit, which in this case will also have the same width, to start to build that consistency. And that's how you start creating the font. Then real quick, you can select all the different elements and then use either the shape builder tool, which is this little tool over here that allows you to click through each single shape in order to make a single one. And here we go, you already created a letter, very simple. And if you do have the integration, we're going to just show you how to create the one similar to the display that I created as well. I'm just going to walk you through the very basics, because those are the most meaningful information. Then you can take these and have fun and create whatever you want. But if you do have downloaded that font self, which is a website you have to pay for, I think is one fee, and it is a forever I think it's something like $30 or something like that. You can go ahead and install it. You will find it under Window, Extensions, and then Font Self once you install it. But look at this. Once you've done any shape, you can simply drag it into the any character batch, and once it imports it inside its panel, all you're left to do is to assign the letter that you will be working with. So in this case, I'm going to tell Font Self, hey, this symbol, this shape is going to be my T. And you can go ahead and start doing that per each single letters until you build either the entire alphabet or just simply maybe the word that you want. And the beauty is that allows you to type it and export it as a font. We're gonna perhaps, maybe let's see how to do that real quick since we opened Font Self, and then we can jump into my display font, because I know that many of you are curious. So once you're done, you can save it. So generate an OpenType font. I'm gonna call this one test T, just to show you, and then click on OK. And here we go. Like, that's literally it. You're saving a font that you created. That's how easy it is. That's why I really wanted to show you. You can decide where to place it in your machine. I'm gonna go ahead and perhaps save it into my desktop so it's easy to find, and click on save. And once you have it, you literally can open it up and then you can install it. As you can see, mine is just contains the letter T, but you can imagine the possibilities are endless. And that's literally how I created my font here. As you can see, the Gestalt K, I've literally uploaded the entire library there. But now to create something more display like mine, which is a little bit more blocky and fun, I tend to start with something like a square. And that's why, again, I was saying the letter H is perhaps the better way to start. And I will use this first square as the main container. And that's also how I created this grid, by basing on the main width of the character that I want to use. Then I tend to move that outside and have another artboard. And by the way, this is the artboard tool that you can click from, select from the toolbar, the bottom of the toolbar, in order to create a work in progress, like a little artboard where you can have a lot of fun with. And then I'm gonna hold the Option key and create some copies, and then Command D to duplicate the copy that I've created of this main shape, which is gonna be my base, my main container. And then something else that you can do to really have fun and create these units, really breaking down this main area that will contain your letters, is to go ahead and dive into the object. So select your shape by clicking on it, and then add to Object, Path, and split into grid. Here it is, probably just right there. Split into grid. Once you click on it, you will be able to split into whatever grid you want, so you can create your little unit. So let's see, for example, make sure to click on preview so we can actually see it happen live. So once you start to divide it into different columns, can you see here, maybe that can be our T, or maybe our T can be 2 units. So I really strongly recommend you to have fun with these grid. I tend to make grid that have smaller units so I can have more fun with them. And if you want to use circle as well, try to have a square, so maybe the same number of row and same number of column. I think that probably like a 4x4 is gonna look good for these. And then click on OK. Now, not only I'm going to be able to have these as a grid, again, Command Y or Control Y will allow you to access that wireframe, that preview outline mode that will show you the actual outline, or you can perhaps as well, again, Command Y in order to select it. Oops, let's see what happened there. You can perhaps just transform this one into an outline by pressing the letter D and apply the default color, which is basically the black stroke and the white fill. Something else that you can do here with these little squares, which are now the unit of every single letter that you're going to create, first of all, is I tend to duplicate it again. So I'm going to, in this case, duplicate it to the bottom. So here I will perhaps try different grids, and then here I will have the copy of these different grids. And then I can also go even more, have more fun with these experimentation, and grab one of these square. So again, selected, all the Option key and drag, and then we can press the letter A and use this little corner widget to create a circle. So if you want to go ahead and create a circle that is the same size and fits perfectly inside your little squares, you can go ahead and just simply use the little option. So we know that we can use this one if we want to go ahead and maybe create a square, or you can do the same perhaps with 4 squares. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring this here. In this case, I'm going to use my Pathfinder tool, in particular the Unite tool. And what I'm doing here is simply creating creating blocks starting from my main square. Again, in this case, I'm going to create for vertical, and maybe you can just go ahead and create a block of 2 horizontal. So what I'm gonna do here is literally create the foundation of my font, and then you can start to have fun on the main square here, which is the main area. So for example, if I do have the letter T, I know now that this is going to be my main stem that I want to use, and again, this is like a fun font that you can use as much as you want. So here we can place this other rectangle and of course put it on top if you want and match it to the other side, and then maybe you can have a little circle here, and that can also be, for example, a letter P. And if you want to create a larger circle, and by the way, you should be creating copy every time that you do this. I don't know why I haven't created a copy, but again, you can start to go ahead and play with all these different shape and fill in this bigger square in order to create another letter. So for example, that could be the letter P. Now, how do you split them into different shapes or unite the shapes? Well, very simple, like we did before. You can go ahead and select the shapes, in this case, all the shift key. I'm going to zoom in so you can see a little bit more. And again, this is a funky, bold display font. What is very important here are the main area of the font that I usually take with the letter O or the letter H, and this is going to give us the main width of the space of the character, and then you can use the grid to break down and have access to all these little other shapes. And then again, you can use the shape builder tool to have access to all the different shapes that you want if you want to, or maybe you can also leave it as they are and break it down. But for example, if I want to integrate these two shapes, let's go ahead and select actually the circle and this little shape over here. Again, simply click and drag in order to add them together. So now we have this letter P that includes these two little items. And the beauty is that once you start to create this little puzzle, almost more like a Tetris, you can go ahead and use it again, maybe for something else, like the letter R. So once you create the letter R, again, what I will do is to use one of our base shapes and then place the same shape that we used before, making sure that again here is touching the bottom, and then use one of our element. And again, I'm just going to use this block here because that's what I have spare. Unfortunately, I'm going very fast. And then again, you can use this block. Zoom in to make sure that you're actually using all the little all the space in your area, and now we can bring this together. And I'm completely freestyling this, and you can move this block over here, again, option to create a copy, maybe at the bottom. So again, the most important thing is to pick a theme and make sure that you are consistent with the shape that you're using. So here we have a letter P and a letter R. And again, this can be as fun as you want. I was just having a play here with the H and with the I. In this case, I was keeping consistency with the color and with the little stripe at the bottom. But now what I want to show you, and I'm really making this as bonkers as possible, as weird as possible, is that we can go ahead and add the color by simply selecting the shape. And in this case, I'm going to use some of my color palette here and the circle. And that's something else that I strongly recommend to you. Whenever you create weird shapes, or like, for example, you have something like a circle, a recurring shape, try to use the same color for that specific shape. So this one, as weird as it possibly be, we can actually use it in font self to create a font that whenever we type the letter R brings up this shape. So again, all I'm going to do is to open the window, panel, and then from here, extensions and font self maker. And again, remember, all I have to do here is to drag the whatever shape we've created, and then all you'll have to do is to add, well, I have to group them first because it looks like otherwise this little glyph is not taken in consideration as they are. So let me make sure that I go ahead and group them first, and I bring it in here. Let's see. It looks like it's merging it. I need to look into that a little bit more. Perhaps it looks like there's been an update on this. I don't know if maybe we need to create a compound path, but we have our letter R showing up in all its weird shape. And if we do download this font, You can literally use any of your drawing to create the alphabet of your dream to match your project. So remember, the most important thing is to start by creating a main shape that you want to use. Also, you can go ahead and use this main shape to split it into a grid. From the grid, you get units, and then you start to play with them. Then the next step will be to start to create consistency through color in order to apply it to your letter. Again, you have my example here with the Gestel K. If you head to my PrintMySoul, I'm gonna load it inside my Behance as well, so you can actually have a look in that. But unfortunately, it's time to say goodbye. I can't believe it. Annika in the chat, Colby, anyone is making a font set? Clever is asking. I really look forward to understand and to see what you guys are doing. You can always bring your work on the Discord channel. Here's the channel, is a bit.ly/AI Discord. I look forward to see that typeface that you create. As you can see, mine is really weird. It doesn't have to be anything that makes sense, as long as it makes sense to you and to your project. And with the integration of Font Self, you will be able to share it with the world, but most importantly, use it as a proper font. I can't believe it's time to say goodbye. I hope you guys had fun and enjoyed this challenge. You're going to use this starter file to create your very own font following this typography foundation. Unfortunately, it's time to say goodbye for now. Don't forget that there is much more fun coming up at Adobe Live with more stream. In fact, we're going to have a power prompt with Kladi coming in Fresco, and then also Annika in InDesign and Illustrator. So go and grab a glass of water, and I look forward to see you tomorrow with a brand new creative challenge in Illustrator. Goodbye, everybody.